My name is Ian Dowling, and this is Speech 2 for the speech class at Marion Tech. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about drum set cymbals, how they're made, and a little bit about the history. They're made with a blend of 3 different kinds of metals: copper, zinc, and a little bit of silver. But before I talk about how these are made, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history behind them. Cymbals mainly started around 3000 BC. At first, they were used in things like ceremonies for worshiping and weddings, and they were also used by like beggars to gain attention from people passing by, get donations and things like that. But the basics of cymbals haven't really changed all that much over time. The basic techniques of cymbal making have basically remained the same. They originated in places like Turkey and China and India because, in addition to ceremonies, in those places they were also used in war. They were used to scare the enemies away, because if you hit it really loud, it would scare them away, and it would be a lot easier to fight if your enemies are scared. But in 1680, Nikolaus Strunk used cymbals for the first time in orchestra and opera, and then nearly 100 years later, they were also used by Mozart and Haydn, but they were very far from the center of attention compared to how they are now. They're used a lot more often in music now. Probably the most influential and important step in the history of cymbals is when Avedis Zildjian moved from Turkey to America in 1908 so he could start his own candy factory. But what ended up happening was he inherited his uncle's cymbal factory, and he wasn't very enthusiastic about it, but they started making about 6 cymbals a day, and they quickly gained in popularity because at the time they were really the very few cymbal manufacturers in America. So we can start talking about the modern method of cymbal making, which is, again, not too different from how it was about 3,000 years ago, however many years ago. But first, these start off as a little disc, a little casting, and they're heated up and rolled in a press, and they're flattened out and thinned to fit the certain size and shape of the cymbal. It depends on the kind of cymbal being made. Castings can go through the heating and rolling cycle many times. It also just depends on the type of cymbal being made. So after heating and pressing is done, the cymbals are cut and they shaped and then finalized. So once they're done with being pressed, they're placed on a spindle, and the cutters shear the edges to a set diameter. This one is a 16-inch cymbal. So it was cut to a 16-inch, and then after the cutting, it's hammered by either hydraulic or by hand. You can see these indents right here. They're so precise around the whole cymbal, I can tell that this is machine hammered and not hand hammered. It doesn't really make too much of a difference in my opinion, but I'm sure some people prefer one or the other. The next step is the tonal grooving, which is all these grooves along here. This is typically done by hand by a master craftsman, and these are really important because these determine the sound and pitch, and it helps the sound waves travel. So this is all very precise work, and it's all done by a master craftsman who has quite a bit of experience. After that, so the bottom side is done by hand, the top side's done by hand, and then it's placed on an edging machine because the edges right here are nice and smooth, but before they're edged, they're really sharp, they're kind of frayed a little bit, and it's really not safe and doesn't look good. You could get cut easily. So it's finalized there, it's smoothened on the edges, and then the final step is quality check, which is probably the most fun job. It's exactly how you'd think. Somebody takes a stick, they hammer it a couple times to make sure it holds up, sounds good, sounds as it's supposed to, and then it's placed and it is ready for shipment. So cymbal art is, or cymbal making is an art that's been perfected over thousands of years. Techniques have changed, and the understanding of sound waves and what different grooves and hammering types and sizes can change the sound and everything, but the main core of cymbal making has largely remained the same.